this Yankee season continues to get more and more interesting. So the Yankees win another series, 10 out of 11. And this was one of the more entertaining ones. And the first series against the White Sox at Yankee Stadium was as well. But this one, we saw a game in Iowa, the Field of Dreams game, which kind of in classic Yankee fashion this year ends up being a heartbreaking loss. We'll definitely discuss that. But yet they still found a way to win the series. They have done such a great job with really a lot of players out. But there is a lot of depth to this team, but it's impressive what they've done. But really, for me, the bullpen is again the story, and mostly in a negative way. So as much as I'm happy that the Yankees won against a really good team and bouncing back from that Field of Dreams game, which was an amazing comeback by the Yankees in the first place, that first needs to be said. And the overall approach by the offense has been better. Now, the last game, tons of strikeouts, not getting it done runners in scoring position, but they are making the pitcher work a lot more. And so overall, as much as I always kind of go back to the fact that I think when the going gets tough, I don't know what the lineup will do. Lately, they have not been the issue. The bullpen has just been a fucking nightmare. Really, I guess the first month was good. And then maybe even May was fine as well. But certainly, definitely since June, maybe before that, it's been awful. And the only high leverage reliever that I can trust is Jonathan Loaisiga. Other than that, you're basically hoping on guys that are lower down in the pecking order. And you know what? Give it a shot. Go for it, because it's a very small sample, but just based on the last few days, hey, Albert Abreu, let's see what he can do in a bigger situation. Wandy Peralta, it worked out. Whereas Zack Breton, absolutely, and he even admitted it. He admitted it after that Thursday game that he should no longer be in the sort of closer, ninth inning setup. And it's sad, but extremely true. Zack Breton, I don't know what happened to him. He is not good whatsoever. I mean, you can't trust that he's going to get those strikes. It's bad. And then there's Chad Green. Chad Green, it's a little bit of a different story. Chad Green is a good pitcher. Like, whereas Zack Breton right now just doesn't have it at all. The problem with Green is he's a joke. You do not want him closing out a game in the ninth inning. He is perfect in that sort of 6th, 7th inning, multiple inning role. Perfect for that. That's exactly what you want him in. But when it comes to like a 9th inning, got to get the last out, no way. Even 8th inning, I don't feel good about Chad Green. And then, they even tried like Lucas Licky. That is going to be a lot of the conversation in this episode, is just the bullpen usage. A lot of it is fairly perplexing. So that's the thing. I'm not even second guessing a lot of these moves. I'm truly first guessing them. And sadly, it kind of goes the way I think it will. With that all being said, Yankees win a really key series against a very good team. This is a playoff team with a really good lineup, really good pitching. And the Yankees didn't have all that much trouble with it. So, Field of Dreams game, Andrew Heaney, which, oh my God, fuck Andrew Heaney. He is, but also fuck Brian Cashman for bringing in Andrew Heaney. This was, when the trade was made, I'll admit, I thought that, you know what? He's worth a flyer considering the state of the rotation. And I guess at that point, it hadn't been as much of a problem. Maybe Herman? I'm trying to think. And when the trade was made, no, Herman was still healthy. So it's really a matter of, he has some pretty decent underlying numbers, but he's a home run pitcher. Like, he gives up so many home runs, and it's just a really bad fit. It's not working out, and he did not give the Yankees a chance to win this game. Now, luckily, the Yankees did fight back, but Heaney gave up 3 more homers. The guy has absolutely been terrible, and sadly, I think he's going to be starting against the Red Sox on Wednesday. We'll preview that, but I really think that is where this is headed, 100%. And that's really unfortunate, especially with certain guys coming back. Heaney's still going to be in there, but I can't imagine it's going to last much longer. But the Yankees did get to Lance Lynn. So the former Yankee Lance Lynn, the Yankees did a really good job against him, I felt. And I like this new look lineup. It's working out right now. I mean, Brett Gardner batting second has paid off. And again, Tyler Wade has been doing well enough, certainly, at the bottom of the lineup. So you're getting fairly decent production throughout. But let's just go straight to the first. Jose Abreu, 0-2 pitch by Heaney, just terrible. And Abreu had amazing numbers against Heaney to begin with, and he just throws him a fat, some off speed. Might have been a slider. Right in Abreu's wheelhouse, and he, hits a homer, makes it 1-0. Top of the third, the Aaron Judge show begins. So Aaron Judge had a really, really good series at the plate, like very locked in, very impressive. And in that game in particular, really incredible. I mean, Judge really tried to put the team on his back in the Field of Dreams game. So with 2 out, LeMahieu walks, Gardner singles, and it's a 3-run homer by Aaron Judge. So that was a fun moment. Opposite field, 3-1 Yanks. But, of course, the next inning, Heaney, leadoff walk to Adam Engel, never want to do that. And then with 1 out, you get an RBI double by Tim Anderson. And then with 2 out, eventually a 3-run homer to Eloy Jimenez. And that lineup is dangerous with Abreu and Jimenez and Anderson at the top. The list goes on and on. That is a dangerous lineup to navigate through. So that would make it 5-3, but it doesn't stop there. Bottom of the fourth, with 1 out, Luis Robert doubles. And then with 2 outs, Zeby Zavala, the catcher, who we'll talk about later in this game. Zavala gets it 2-run homer to make it 7-3. So at that point, you're thinking, all right, now Heaney's just kind of had to take one for the team because the pen was taxed, and Heaney would pitch a scoreless 5th. But the Yankees would score in the 6th. It would be a leadoff homer by Brett Gardner. And there would be a lot of failed opportunities along the way here. Lynn would be taken out with 1st and 2nd, no out. Michael Kopech comes in, gets Stanton to ground out, but it was hit so soft that the runners moved to 2nd and 3rd. And then Luke Voigt struck out looking, and then Odor struck out swinging. So that wasn't what you wanted to see. But with Gardner getting the homer, they brought Wandy Peralta in. So Wandy Peralta would end up pitching in each game of the series and fared pretty well the whole way through. So Peralta pitches a scoreless 6th here to keep it at 7-4. Then in the 7th, combination of Kopech and Aaron Bummer. Kopech gets into some trouble, but they're able to get through it. And then Peralta pitches another score. I totally forgot that he actually pitched 2 innings and pitched a really good inning. Then Craig Kimbrell comes on in the 8th, gives up a 1-out walk to Voigt, but otherwise gets the job done. Joely Rodriguez pitches a scoreless spot in the 8th. So it's 7-4 going to the 9th. And, the way that it felt, it probably was going to be over. Liam Hendricks, one of the best closers in baseball. But the Yankees have always hit Liam Hendricks pretty well. And it would be Tyler Wade who starts it off with a leadoff single. But then LeMahieu strikes out, Gardner strikes out. So you're down by 3. You got Wade on base. And then Aaron Judge homers again. 2-run homer. Great. I mean, again, opposite field, right center field. When Judge is going well, he's just, a lot to center field, a lot to right center, and that's exactly what he did. So it cuts the lead to 1, and it has yourself thinking, damn, like all those missed opportunities the last few innings, and if Heaney could have just stopped the bleeding a little bit, but then Joey Gallo walks, and he's a 3-outcome guy. It's walks, strikeouts, and homers, and we saw a lot of that in this series. So, but then it's Giancarlo Stanton. And you know what? I feel bad for Stanton in the sense that if the Yankees ended up holding on to winning this game, that would have been a pretty big moment for Giancarlo Stanton. And really, and he had some of those in the playoffs last season, but this would have been a pretty big one. Giancarlo Stanton's a 2-run homer, and it just went out. The camera, the way that the camera setup was on Fox, they show it looked good off the bat, but it ended up being super close. And maybe if the left fielder, I forget who was in left at that time for the White Sox, if they were more familiar with the stadium, maybe they could have, caught that. But either way, Stanton hits it out, gives the Yankees the lead. But I didn't feel good about it. But Zack Breton I see Zack Breton warming up, coming in. And for me, and they learned this too late, but I would have brought in Jonathan Loaisiga. This is a right-handed heavy lineup, and it's a seniority thing. When it comes to Chapman and Britton, it's been a seniority thing. With Britton, it won't be anymore, but Britton comes into play in the next game. We'll get there. But with Britton, it starts out well. He gets a ground out. Danny Mendick, but then Zebi Zavala, he has him 0-2. And there was even a foul ball that was very close where Wade fields it and gets him, but it was the right call. It was foul. But I'm not even going to harp on that. Britton has him 0-2, the catcher, Zavala, and he walks him. Kiss of death. And that's what Zack Breton does. He cannot throw strikes, except to the next hitter, throws a cookie right to Tim Anderson, walk-off homer, 2-run homer, and that hurt. I mean, no doubt about that. Just, it wasn't your regular game. This was, the first time they'd ever had a game like this. And I had myself saying, look, I wish that we had just lost 7-4, even though I was proud of the comeback and it was, incredible a 2-out rally. But Zack Breton loses it. And again, I was a very big fan of Zack Breton for the most part. It's funny. I didn't love him all that much when they brought him in 2018, but he was still, if I look back at the stats, he was pretty good. But then really in 2019 and 2020, for the most part, he does get hurt every now and then, but he was really good. Like last year when Chapman was out, I guess it was probably due to COVID. And Britton took over that closer's role, and he was just really sharp and a pretty dependable guy. In his Yankee years, the walk-to-strikeout ratio hasn't always been there, but this is just on another level. So Zack Breton, after the game, I think it's a mutual thing, but Britton, admitted that he told Boone, whoever else, that he doesn't deserve to be in those spots. And I commend that. I think it's probably a bad look for Britton. You don't really see players do that, but I commend him for admitting that. And then ironically, he would find his way. He would find his way into the next game. So, really tough loss for the Yankees. And I kind of expected this episode to be kind of a negative toned episode just because, here we go, another gut punch. And that goes to show you the order of game. When I record the episode, it's the last, the most previous thing kind of rules the day. And so you feel good when you lose that first one, but then you win the next two. And boy, were those games crazy as well. So in particular, this game I'm about to talk about, game 2, Jameson Taillon versus Dylan Cease. And neither of them fared all too well, but kind of grinded through. Both went 5 innings, 3 earned runs. And so, both I felt were hit fairly hard. I thought Taillon was hit relatively hard, and so was Dylan Cease. And I think that it could have been worse for both starters, but they were able to do what they had to. But in this one, first game, at the real, I think Guaranteed Rate Park, some stupid name, the White Sox Stadium. But first inning, the Yankees get it going. DJ LeMahieu leadoff double. DJ LeMahieu, we're starting now. The power isn't there that we had saw specifically last year, but also in 2019. But the DJ LeMahieu that I remember, we're starting to actually see it again. I've been hard on him this season, but I really like what I've seen from LeMahieu lately. And he is such a catalyst, such a key part at the top of that lineup. And LeMahieu starts off with a double. And then it was a good fundamental hitting. Gardner flies out, gets LeMahieu over to third, and then a sac fly by Judge. And then right after that, Joey Gallo. This home run was very similar to the one he had at Yankee Stadium. High, majestic shot down the right field line, and it goes out. Gives the Yanks a 2-0 lead. But bottom of the first, Taillon leadoff single to Anderson. Then with 1 out, Abreu doubles, and then Eloy Jimenez gets an RBI ground out. So that does make it 2-1. And then in the bottom of the second, Luis Robert homers, ties it up at 2. But with the Yankees, and this goes back to that Royals series, like, I guess besides a few instances, it was really the Yankees taking the lead and the other team tying it up. Back and forth, back and forth. The Yankees would take the lead, and the other team, like, I guess there's resiliency, but it was frustrating. So you would see that a lot here. where top of the third with 2 outs, Gardner triples, and then Aaron Judge with a nice opposite field RBI double gives the Yanks a 3-2 lead. But like I said, the White Sox would tie it up with 1 out. Hernandez gets an infield single. Then Abreu gets a double, and then Eloy Jimenez gets a sac fly. Nice catch by Gardner on the sac fly, by the way. I thought when it was hit, it was going to be a lot more. So that ties it up at 3, and then we don't see scoring for a while. And what was interesting was bottom of the 6th, Eloy Jimenez singles off Tyone, and then he's done. They bring in Lucas Licky, and he gives up a single to Moncada. Brian Goodwin grounds out, moves him over. Then they intentionally walk Luis Robert, which I thought was a good idea considering. So Jonathan Loaisiga was warming up, which it's a really tough thing because on the one hand, you really want to save him for late in the game, but also I don't mind the idea of when the going's tough and when the game's on the line to bring him in. So I'm not going to fault that at all. They just need more dependable arms. Loaisiga comes in. What happens is they pinch hit Andrew Vaughn for Jake Lamb, which Tony La Russa, I felt like in that situation, was playing into the hands of the Yankees. If he leaves Jake Lamb in there, I kind of think Boone was going to leave Lucas Licky in for the lefty-lefty matchup, but they put in Andrew Vaughn. And I admit, Andrew Vaughn is a lot better than Jake Lamb. But then that really enabled the Yankees to definitely bring in Loaisiga, and it works out. Andrew Vaughn grounds out. They get the force at home. And then Zach Collins, the other catcher besides Zavala, Collins hits a nice fly ball, but Gardner is able to track it down. So that got a little bit interesting, but Loaisiga gets the job done, cleans the mess. In the bottom of the 7th, Loaisiga gets a couple of outs, then gives up a couple of singles to Abreu and Jimenez. I mean, those two are tough. And then Wandy Peralta comes in and gets Yohan Moncada to ground out. Wandy Peralta, time and time again, he's had a nice role ever since he'd been out with COVID. He had been out for a while and hadn't been particularly great before that, but he's come back and has really shown out. And so Peralta gets out of that inning. Top of the 8th, Craig Kimbrell comes on, and Aaron Judge, a line drive home run to center field. Huge home run for Judge, his 26th of the season. He is really turning it up lately, and a big home run. So we move to the bottom of the 8th, and they actually start Peralta, which was interesting. Now, Green was available and ready, but you understand they wanted to somehow piece it together and not have Green, do a 5 or 6 out save. So Peralta, he gets the job done. He gets Goodwin to strike out, Robert to pop out, and then they bring Green on, and he does give up a single to Andrew Vaughn, but then he strikes out Zach Collins. The Yankees would not score on the top of the 9th, which would have been needed because Chad Green, Chad Green, bottom of the 9th. Anderson grounds out. Cesar Hernandez strikes out. So, okay, looking good. And then this Jose Abreu at-bat was a long at-bat. And at the end of the day, it's a full count. And on pitch 8, Green hangs one. Green hangs a curveball. Abreu hits it out. I mean, Chad Green, and I understand that Eloy Jimenez is on deck. I understand you do want to go after Abreu. You do. But you, of course, cannot hang a curveball right over the middle. I mean, it's okay. And it's funny, Abreu swung at a pitch off the plate on 3-1. And at the time, I'm thinking, that's pretty smart, actually. He doesn't want to walk, and he knows, if he gets a pitch to hit, he's going to crush it out. And that's exactly what he did. So Chad Green has shown time and time again, he cannot be trusted in the 9th inning. This is not a Zack Breton situation. Chad Green can be a very effective pitcher. The stats show that. And he gets a lot of strikeouts. Generally, his control is really good, but he does not belong in the 9th inning. So they tie it up, and it's like, here we go again. 1 strike away. Liam Hendriks comes in the 10th, and if you thought it was going to get better for Liam Hendriks after his debacle in the first game series, it didn't get any better. Aaron Judge gets an RBI single. Remember, there's a runner on second to start. And then a really big bomb 2-run homer by Joey Gallo. Really important to make it 7-4. If it had stayed 5-4, they were losing the game. It makes it 7-4. Really needed. And Liam Hendriks continues to get smoked by the Yanks. So we go to the bottom of the 10th. Bottom of the 10th, Zack Britton's coming on. And I had said at the time I wanted Albert Abreu. And I understand that might be a bit of I admit, I said it. This is no second guessing here. Albert Abreu, besides that one out against the Rays, has been really good. Has really good stuff. Albert Abreu would luckily be the savior eventually, but not before Zack Breton would get into a lot of trouble. He gets the leadoff out to Moncada, but then it's a 4-pitch walk to Brian Goodwin. That is what Zack Breton has done. The lefty Brian Goodwin, he 4-pitch walks him, puts the tying run on. Then Luis Robert singles, makes it 7-5. Then he 4-pitch walks Andrew Vaughn. I mean, look, he admitted that he just doesn't have it, and Zack Breton is going to need. I thought that he was going to have the whole fake IL, like, oh, shoulder fatigue, just to get him out of there. But he's going to need to have that sort of Chapman treatment that we saw like a month ago, where only low leverage situations, don't even mess around with him when you just can't trust him. And I'd like to believe that at least in the interim, we won't see him in those spots. But a really bad outing by Britton. And here comes Albert Abreu. A really tough spot for a young kid, and he got it done. And on the first pitch to Zebby Zavala, and that was another situation where La Russa played into the Yankees' hands. He pinch hits Zavala for Zach Collins. Again, I think that Boone might have left Britton in if it was still the lefty Zach Collins, but he brings in Zavala, so it made it an extremely no doubt. I mean, I would have brought in Abreu, of course, but that just ensured it. He gets Zavala, Abreu does, to line out to LeMahieu. It wasn't hit all that hard, but still. But what was key, the first pitch, Higashioka, who, we'll talk about Higashioka in the next game, but Higashioka makes a really nice play defensively. A ball in the dirt that he just makes a great scoop at. And if that goes by him, who knows what happens. But then Tim Anderson, the hero from the first game, Tim Anderson, would ground out. A really long at-bat, but Abreu wins the battle. Albert Abreu. Good for him. And I really would like to believe that this should put him in it'll move him up in the pecking order in the bullpen. And they should have started Abreu to start the inning, but it ends up working out. And I feel like that happened a lot with Boone here in these 2 wins. Not moves that I agree with that almost came back to bite, but, at the end of the day, they end up getting the wins. So let's move to the rubber game. And I didn't love the matchup, to be honest. As good as Nestor Cortes has been, and he has been so good. Like Nestor Cortes, it was Nestor Cortes versus Lucas Giolito. And Nestor Cortes, 2019, he had a pretty big role with the Yankees. They had a situation where Chad Green would be the opener, and Nestor Cortes would kind of be like the bulk guy. Sometimes David Hale. Nestor Cortes was really effective at first, and then eventually it was really bad. I did not like Nestor Cortes at all towards the end. He was always the funky, sort of shifty lefty, crafty lefty, if you will. But I did not like him. He lost his role, gave up a lot of home runs, became very hittable. And I don't even think a lot of people realize this. Nestor Cortes was not on the Yankees last year. He was on the Mariners. Nestor Cortes was not in the organization. They brought him back this offseason, and he started the year in the minors, and Nestor Cortes has been a godsend to this team. Nestor Cortes goes 6 innings, gives up 1 run, 7 strikeouts against this really good right-handed heavy White Sox lineup. Just unbelievable. The Yankees in this game, I just have to say this now, they went 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position, and that one hit came in the 9th on a home run. And they struck out 16 times. 4 for Gallo, 4 for Higashioka, and 3 for Odor. Those are and 3 for Tyler Wade. But Gallo, we know, strikes out a ton, and I don't like that at all. And Higashioka, he's batting 169. I mean, look, like, even coming from someone who has been such an anti-Gary Sanchez guy, Gary Sanchez is absolutely has to play over Kyle Higashioka. He's batting 169. Anyway, Yankees would take the lead in the second. And it would be Luke Voit, who had a rough series to this point, had a really nice last game, and he knows that his spot is in jeopardy. Anthony Rizzo is going to come back soon, and Voit, he'll get some DH time, but that'll be about it. Luke Voit singles, then Ruben Odor, who also I felt Voit and Odor going into this game not doing amazingly well, but Odor hits a 2-run shot off of Giolito. And then with 2 outs, LeMahieu singles, and then Gardner doubles. And Cesar Hernandez tries to throw Gardner out at second. Gardner's safe, but the ball goes away, so LeMahieu is actually able to score from third. So there's an error that leads. That was a very key run that made it 3-0. And then it would be, Giolito would settle down a bit, but he would only go 4 innings. And again, that speaks to the Yankees being able to work the count. And should have scored more than 3 runs, but Cortez does a really good job, pitches 6 innings, and in that 6th, with 1 out, Andrew Vaughn homers off of Cortez. Vaughn really good against lefties. Homers makes it 3-1. Then in the 7th, they bring in Steven Ridings, and as much as I liked Steven Ridings at first, he had gotten really beat around against the Royals, and I was not loving this decision, and I think they played with fire because they actually brought him back out to start the 8th. He had leadoff walks in both innings. Luckily in the 7th, though, after the leadoff walk, a 4-pitch walk, I might add, to Jake Lamb, he struck out Zach Collins, and then he got Tim Anderson to ground a double play. That's great, and a good bounce back for him. But then he would walk Hernandez to start the 8th, and for me at that point, I would have just had Loizaga, especially because Loizaga, as it ended up turning out, would only pitch the 8th. I would have just had Loizaga start the 8th. If you have him warmed up, it worked out with Ridings in the 7th, but I thought that was risky. But Loizaga comes in, and he does what he generally does. He gets the job done. Loizaga gets Jose Abreu to ground out. Then Eloy Jimenez strikes out looking, and then Andrew Vaughn pops out. So it's 3-1. He's thrown 15 pitches. Keep in mind he pitched the night before. But the plan was going to be to have Loizaga pitch the 9th, at least start it, until Matt Foster comes in for the White Sox, and he is definitely a downgrade from some of the other relievers they have, and Giancarlo Stanton doubles to lead off the inning, and then Luke Voit, which under normal circumstances was a really important 2-run homer, gives him a 5-1 lead. But what it did was, and Voit had a 3-hit game, what it did was it ends up taking Loizaga out of the 9th inning, which I didn't agree with. Because here's how you got to look at it. Loizaga was not going to pitch the next day anyway. Let him at least start the 9th, at least see how things go. But they take him out because if it was 3-1, I believe that he was going to stay in there. But they take him out, and in comes Lucas Licky. And it's been an overall, I talk about this with Lucas Licky. Oh, it's been a great story. The numbers are really good. Overall, it's been good for him. But in terms of that lefty pecking order, Wandy Peralta, this is an ever-changing thing, but Peralta should be ahead of Licky. You saw this weekend the guys that might be able to come. I mean, again, the Abreus, the Peraltas, the Loizagas, certainly, that were, again, who knows if it lasts, that were able to get it done in the tough moments. Whereas Green, certainly Britton, Licky, not so much. So Licky in the 9th, and his control is normally pretty damn good, walks Moncada. Same thing with Ridings. Ridings control is pretty good, but he walked a couple. Leadoff walk to Moncada. Single for Luis Robert. Then he gets Jake Lamb to fly out. It was a nice play by Andrew Velasquez, who came in for defensive purposes. It was a nice play by Velasquez. But then Zach Collins on a ball that Aaron Judge would like to have. It was hit well, so Licky's at fault for that. But Judge should have tracked it down, but didn't. And so it goes down as an RBI double for Zach Collins. Makes it 5-2, and now it's 1st and 3rd, and now the tying run is up in the name of Tim Anderson. But they bring in Wandy Peralta, which was interesting, because at the time I'm thinking, is Chad Green available? Is Albert Abreu available? We'll never know. I guess they weren't. So Wandy Peralta, the lefty, comes in to face Tim Anderson, and it wasn't Peralta's fault, but Anderson hits a ground ball to LeMahieu, and LeMahieu throws it over to Peralta, but Anderson beats it out. Anderson gets an infield single. It's 5-3, 1st and 3rd, 1 out. It's like, we're going to here we go. 5-1 in the 9th, and we're going to lose it again. And I keep on saying, why did Loizaga not just, you should have kept Loizaga, but Peralta gets it done. Cesar Hernandez hits into a double play. He hit it to Odor, grabbed it, stuck it in the bag, threw to first, and they got Hernandez out, and the Yankees win the game and the series. Just these games this year, I can't remember another season like this. The Yankees, and there's stats to back this up, they play a lot of close games, and their record in 1- and 2-run games is like the best in baseball. I think a lot of that has to do with examples like you see here, where they have a lead and the bullpen makes it interesting. So there's a level of clutchness to that, but I'm going to attribute that more to just the pen not getting it done. But yeah, the Yankees are, it's a high watermark as well. 65-52 for the Yanks, 13 games above 500. The first time they've been 13 games above 500 since the 2019 season. And now it'll be the Angels coming to town. It's an 8-game homestand, 8 games in 7 days. 7 nights, 7 days. And Garrett Cole is back. And he'll pitch against the Angels. I find that interesting. With the Red Sox coming to town, it's a doubleheader against the Red Sox on Tuesday, then one regular 9-inning game on Wednesday. And it's kind of interesting that Cole's pitching the Angel game. No one's making a huge deal about it. Maybe because this is a 9-inning game, they want to have Cole go. But yeah, Garrett Cole versus the Angels against the lefty Jose Suarez, who did do well against the Yankees in a relief appearance. The game where Dylan Bundy basically puked his brains out at Yankee Stadium. Suarez came in and actually did a good job. So that'll be Suarez versus Cole. Then what's interesting is the doubleheader against the Red Sox. I'm not sure who's pitching for the Red Sox for sure, but for the Yankees, it looks like game 1, game 2. I'm not sure the order, but likely it'll be Luis Gil, who we haven't seen since the last game of that Mariners series. He's going to be the one that gets the ball against the Red Sox. It's interesting. You know, you'd figure that maybe he would pitch against the Angels and have Cole go Red Sox, but they have Gil. I guess it shows some level of confidence, but, you know, the Red Sox are, of course, a key opponent. And then Jordan Montgomery comes back as well. So Cole coming back, Montgomery coming back. And then Wednesday, like I said, it's probably going to be Andrew Heaney. So, yeah, a bit of a weird schedule set up here with originally it was just going to be a 2-game series against the Sox leading into the 4-game set against the Twins to end the homestand. But now 2 additional games were added. This Monday Angel game. And if you remember, the Yankees had lost 2 of the first 3 games of that series. And that was the one where Chapman blew that 4-run lead in the 9th inning. And then the Yankee Red Sox, there was a rainout. Oh, no, sorry, not a rainout. It was it was COVID right after the All-Star break. And so that's the makeup here. So it'll be tough, but reinforcements are coming. And again, the Yanks just keep on finding ways to win series. Again, 10 out of the last 11. Really impressive stuff and a really big week on tap, specifically with the Red Sox. But we're going to see a lot of players coming back in the lineup. Gary Sanchez, probably Anthony Rizzo, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a revolving door, but the main theme continues to be that the Yankees are, while not pretty, especially as the bullpen, they are winning games.